Welcome back to another episode of Lawyer Up and to the Right. And this week, we're going to be talking about Google Local Service Ads, or LSAs. I talk to at least 15 law firms a week, whether that's through our clients or through consultations that we have. And I can tell you one thing, LSAs are the fastest way for your law firm to get more phone calls. But what I also know is that they cause a ton of problems and a ton of headaches. So in this video, we're going to be counting down 7 reasons why your LSAs are not working and not converting. Let's get into it. All right, Cesar, how are we doing today, man?
Doing good. Doing good.
Awesome. So today we're going to be going through a list that we have prepared. We each came up with as many reasons as we could for why a law firm's LSAs might not be working, might not be showing up, might not be converting. We came up with 7, and we're going to be counting down from 7 to 1. So make sure you stick around to the end because the last one is going to be the most powerful one. So reason number 7 is neglecting your online reviews. Now, LSAs are coming from the same reviews as your local search profile, aka your Google business profile. So if you're not getting online reviews here, it's a huge reason why people would want to work with your firm. It's also going to help you stand out from other ads. And there's also a ranking factor that happens within LSAs. It's tied to proximity of the search. It's tied to the budget that you put into it. It's also tied to the amount of reviews that you get, because if you have no reviews, Google probably doesn't want to show you to drive phone calls to your law firm. So number 7, make sure that you're getting reviews and that you're keeping your profile up to date.
Okay, number 6, insufficient ad spend. With LSAs, it can be very cost effective, but similar to Google Ads, you need to make sure that you're bidding a sufficient amount for the keywords. And this a lot of times comes down to competitive research. So you have an understanding going in as to what your cost per click is going to be. Although with LSAs, you're not paying until you get the actual phone call. So Google really wants to make sure that you have a sufficient enough budget for the amount of demand that's out there for you getting calls. So really important to make sure that if your ad budget is too low and you see that you're not popping up in the 3 spots that are available at the very top of Google under the LSA section, that you check your budget and make sure that it's not too low. You can experiment with it. You don't have to go crazy with it. You just gradually start to increase the ad spend to see if that's the issue, assuming that everything else that we're talking about on this list is completely buttoned up.
A quick note of that too, the way that budget works for LSAs versus traditional Google pay-per-click ads, almost self-explanatory, but maybe not. Google pay-per-click ads are pay per click, right? So the budget that you set is going to be dictated by cost per click, supply and demand marketplace, right? So every keyword that people are searching for has a cost that's associated with it to pay for with pay-per-click ads. And that cost is going to be determined by how many people are bidding on that. It's similar to LSAs in that it's a supply and demand marketplace. So the more people are bidding, the more it's going to cost for you to play in the game, which is what Cesar's referring to here. But LSAs work, you set a budget and then Google is going to allocate that budget on a pay per lead or pay per call basis. So depending on what your budget is, if you just want to dip your toe in the water and spend $300, $500, that's fine. But you're probably not going to show up that much because, especially if you're in the defense or PI space, that's going to be a very, very expensive lead or call just to get visibility for it. So if you're not spending enough, if you're just dipping the toe in the water, that's probably why you're not showing up. So if you increase your budget, you also have control over it. You can increase your budget for a short period to see how it goes and then taper it back as needed if you don't want to go over budget. Reason number 5 is limited or incorrect geographical targeting. Now, it might sound pretty straightforward. If you're in Miami, you're going to bid on Miami, but keep in mind that depending on where you are, there's different pockets of how people are searching. So Miami is a massive city, both size-wise and population-wise, and there's pockets within the city. There's Coral Gables, there's Coconut Grove, there's Miami Beach, there's downtown, there's Brickell. So again, depending on what your budget is, if you have a very small budget and you're bidding on all of Miami, if you have a very large budget and you're bidding on a very small area, you can play with the targeting of where you're putting your LSAs. It's really, really important that, and you don't just set these up to forget them, you go through and you meticulously plan, test, and optimize your ads based on where you are.
Okay, number 4 is incomplete or inaccurate business information. This is pretty obvious, but you want to make sure that everything from the phone number to the address, that everything is accurate and up to date, because not only are people going to click the phone number to call you directly from the LSA, but they can actually click into it and see your address and see all the information about your business, the operational hours, the types of services that you provide. The more detailed information that you provide, the better it's going to be for the user as well to have an understanding if this is in fact the service that you're looking for. And with everything in Google, the more optimized your listing is, the more love they're going to show you when it comes to showing your listing.
Reason number 3 is a violation of Google's policies. Now, as an SEO professional, I've been doing this for almost 15 years. I can tell you that Google is not always forthcoming with their privacy and their policies. You have to do a little bit of searching for them. And as a busy attorney, you probably don't have the time to do that. You probably just click a few buttons and set up your ads. So I'm going to read you a couple here coming directly from Google's policies that might help you out if your ads are not showing. 1, misrepresentation, providing inaccurate or misleading information about your businesses or your qualifications potentially. 2, unacceptable business practices. Probably doesn't apply to a lot of you attorneys, but Google is actually very picky about a lot of different parts of the law. If you're PI, defense, all these different things, they're constantly changing their terms of service about these different areas of practice and practice areas. Make sure that you stay up to date on that. Number 3, untrustworthy behavior, using deceptive practices to manipulate users, such as false claims, fake reviews. That's a big one, or impersonation. So fake reviews, I want to touch on that for a second, because if you're working with an agency to do your LSAs and you're getting a lot of reviews very quickly, they could possibly be fake reviews. Google will flag that and they will probably shut down your profile and your ad account in the future. Unfair competition, employing tactics that harm competitors, such as click fraud, trademark infringement, or malicious behavior. Another example of that too, if you're working with an agency, click fraud, there's all sorts of bots out there, right? So they could potentially be sending bots at other ads that could be tied back to you. That's going to drive them basically reduce their budgets and then potentially get yours to show in their wake, because once other people's budgets are exhausted, your profile will then show up in lieu of them. Inappropriate content or non-compliance with legal requirements, so failing to comply with local, regional, or national laws, regulations applicable to your business or industry. So again, as a lawyer, you're probably on top of all this stuff, but if you're using an agency, agencies can be a little bit shady to get results sometimes. So any of these reasons could be another reason why your ads are not showing up or not working.
Reason number 2, not answering the phone promptly. So this goes back to everything being about the user. If you're not getting to the phone, if you're not getting to the phone promptly, that's going to lead to bad user experience. It's going to lead to negative reviews, which will then negatively impact the potential or the optimization of your LSA ad. Not to mention, Google is sending you calls, so it's costing them. If they're wasting their resources sending you calls that are not being answered, then they're just going to stop sending you phone calls. So it's really important that you have a system in place where once you set up your LSAs, that you're answering the phone within 1 or 2 rings and getting to every single phone call. Not losing even a small number of phone calls can then start to reduce the effectiveness of how your listing is placed. So just make sure you have a system in place ready to go once you launch your LSA ads.
Yeah, a quick additional note on that too. This is probably the one that is the biggest silent killer of campaigns, because again, what can happen with these ads, for example, right? Let's say you're bidding, you set a $1,000 a month budget, you're in the PI space. And let's say hypothetically, there's 10 other competitors, they're all spending $10,000 per month. That budget is going to be burned based on how many people are searching and clicking for the keywords that you and everyone else are bidding on. So let's say hypothetically, all the other competitors with their $10,000 a month budgets burn out, right? And then you're left on the last day of the month or the last day of your budget cycle with all your budget. You didn't get any phone calls, any leads until this point. But then on the last day of the month, all of a sudden, you're the only ad that's showing up. This is the hypothetical, just to help you understand. You're going to get all those phone calls. Now, as a busy law firm, if you don't have a call answering service, you don't have secretary or assistant, some sort of office manager pick up the phone, as Cesar alluded to, Google's not going to keep sending you phone calls. And what's going to happen is they're going to basically blackball your profile, because if you don't pick up the phone, they are wasting that real estate and AKA money for them on somebody else who would be able to, service those leads. So if you're not picking up your phone, if you're busy, if you're getting a blitz of phone calls, it's really, really, really important that you invest in at least a call answering service. If you need help with that, hit the link below. We can have a conversation and talk through this entire process, but specifically how you can assist in the sales process to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the last and the final, the most important reason is this poor customer reviews and rating. So just like getting reviews are important, just like not getting fake reviews are important, or spamming reviews, getting positive customer reviews are important. So I want to just give you the process that we use for our clients, because local reviews on your Google business profile, they show up in local service ads, but it's also arguably the #1 ranking factor to show up in the local maps pack organically for local search. So getting reviews, especially positive ones, are incredibly important. So what we do for our clients is we set up a review automation system where we get a list of all your past clients, all your existing clients, and all your future clients. We'll set them up automatically onto an email list. Now what we do is, after the case is over, after you've run your service and provided them whatever it is that you're doing for the client, we'll send them an automatic email with what's called an NPS, a Net Promoter Score system. It's basically saying, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you enjoy our service? If they click anything on 8 or above, then they'll get an automatic email going back to them saying, thank you, glad you enjoyed our service. Would you mind leaving us a quick review on our Google business page to help us, grow and expand in the future? And if they didn't have a good service, then, or they didn't rate you positively, then we just won't send them that to them. So, assuming that you have a good product, you offer a good service, it's the fastest, most easiest, frictionless way to get good positive reviews for your law firm. So that's all we got on LSAs. Again, just want to reiterate that LSAs are arguably the fastest, most effective ways for law firms to generate more phone calls and leads. They are capped though, based on budget. They're capped based on location. But if you need help with your LSAs, we're so good at doing these for our law firm clients that we'll do them for you for free. That's right. You heard me. We will do your LSAs for free. All you have to do is hit the link below to book a call so we can talk about your law firm and see if you're a good fit for us to do your LSAs for free. But that's all we got this week. Cesar, it's always a pleasure.
All right. Yeah. Till next time.